Time on the water is sacred. It's why you're here, to gain confidence in your abilities and unlock the world of water for yourself, your family, and your friends. I'm Adam.
And I'm Mayumi. Together we're going to walk you through the basics of boating so you can experience the joy and freedom of being out on the water and go boldly into each adventure that comes your way.
Your anchor is an important tool for good times. Whether you set up at the sandbar with family and friends or post up over a patch of reef to fish.
It's also an important tool in emergencies. If you lose power, it will keep you from drifting towards hazards, which is why you should never leave home without an anchor, and even consider having a second anchor on board for backup.
When choosing the right anchor, a general rule is to have 1 pound of anchor per foot of boat.
There are many types of anchors. To understand which types will work best on the seabeds in your area, talk to a licensed captain, your local boat dealer, or marina.
Once you have your anchor, you'll need a length of chain to attach it to. Generally, you should have 1 foot of chain per foot of boat. You'll also need a stretch of nylon rope to attach the anchor and chain to your boat. This whole anchor line system is called your anchor rode.
Having 10 feet of line for every foot of depth will prepare you for all conditions and scenarios. This 10-to-1 ratio is what's referred to as scope.
You'd only use that much scope in particularly heavy winds and strong current, while a scope of 5-to-1 would be sufficient in calm conditions. Basically, if your anchor starts slipping, let more line out. The more scope you have out, the more likely your anchor will stay set.
Use a dark-colored marker or waterproof paint to mark your anchor line at 25-foot intervals to help you track the line you let out.
When preparing to anchor, establish the direction of the wind and current. Decide exactly where you want to be, then head directly into the current or wind from there.
If you're using a windlass, detach the safety cable before you release the anchor. Whether anchoring manually or with a windlass, once the anchor reaches the bottom, reverse the boat while feeding the line out.
To set your anchor once you have enough line out, you'll likely need to bump into reverse.
If you miss your target, you can always let more line out, or bump the boat forward while bringing the line in. It's a good idea to have a knife readily accessible. If you're surprised by changing conditions or a boater that isn't paying attention, you may need to cut your line to stay out of harm's way.
To retrieve the anchor, throttle forward while bringing the line in to avoid tangling it in your prop. Once the line is vertical, release the button if using a windlass or tie the line to a cleat if anchoring by hand.
Use the boat's momentum to free the anchor. If it doesn't pull free, a couple more bumps forward should get it to release.
If using a windlass, release the button just before your anchor reaches your boat. Tap it a few times to bring the anchor on board gently, then a couple more taps to snug it up.
If you plan to launch your boat in another body of water, thoroughly clean your anchor and line before using it again. This will help prevent spreading aquatic hitchhikers into areas that they shouldn't be in, and preserve the bodies of water that you enjoy.
When anchoring around other vessels, try to separate yourself as much as possible. You don't know how much scope they've let out, and you don't want to risk swinging into one another when the wind or tide changes.
When you're anchoring at sandbars or along the beach, a second smaller anchor will come in handy. It'll often be busy, so it's best to set your main anchor while backing in. When lined up, you'll use your smaller secondary anchor off the stern. This system will keep you from drifting into nearby boats.
With the right setup and a little know-how, your anchor will be a key ingredient in your adventures to come. It's good times, great people, and beautiful spots from here on out.
Thanks for taking the time on this episode of Saltwater Boating Basics presented by Mercury Marine.